What's up, guys? It's your girl Foxy here, and thanks for tuning in. So today I'm doing something really special. I am gonna break down how I got through the first few weeks at home adjusting with twins. So I'm gonna just give you a few tips on things that I did that I found very helpful, and things that now looking back I thought, man, I should have done this sooner, So I'm gonna give you a few of those tips. If I don't remember anything, I'll write it down below. But yeah, let's get to it. So I'm assuming you've already got twins. Congratulations, mamas. Or even if you're just here and you just have a newborn, congratulations. So the first thing that I purchased for my babies was their bed. Now, I read a lot on how other twin mummies sleep their twins, and I found that most moms like to keep them together. I heard and I read that they they sleep well when they're kept together. I mean, especially in those early days, twins are usually prem babies, so they do a lot of sleeping anyway. So there's no concern that one will cry and wake the other up. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do cry, but not as much as a newborn or singleton newborn that's born on term. So anyway, one thing that I pretty much loved about the Bassinet that we bought was that it was a Bassinet, but it was kind of a lot larger than the regular standard Moses basket or Bassinet. It had enough space to accommodate both babies in a safe environment, and still, the airflow was amazing. I think the brand we got was Kindercraft. I'll insert a photo here for you guys. So I slept my babies, I wrapped them individually. And then wrapping is really helpful in that they feel safe. They're used to being in, confined space in your tummy. And so you find that once they're born, they still love to be wrapped and, all warm and cozy. And so I would have both of them wrapped side by side in the middle of the cot, all the way down, have their legs all the way down, and then a blanket over the top tucked in. So I kept them in the Kindercraft Bassinet for almost, I want to say, 3 months until they started rolling. That's really or just doing a lot of movement and getting out of their wraps. I thought that was a hazard, so that's when we moved them out of that. But it was super useful, guys, because I could drag this thing. It's on wheels. I could drag it from my bedroom all the way to my lounge, and we spend most of our time in our lounge just because you have prem babies, and mine in particular, one of my twins was below 2.5 kilos. So just under 2.5 kilos. So the concern was keeping baby warm, because if the baby's not warm enough, they use their fat reserves to keep them warm, and then they lose weight, and you don't want that. So the lounge was better for us because that's where I have my heater, and it's so efficient. And so, I could drag this thing, and it's not heavy, it's lightweight. And another awesome thing about it is it's one of those ones where you can sleep, you can drag it and pull it and attach it onto your bed and have it right by you. So it feels like you're sleeping by your babies, but then they're in their own safe space, and you're also, in your bed, cozy, so you don't have to worry about them. You just look over because the side comes down. So that was one awesome tool that I used. I think it's worth it. Purchase it if you can, just because you want to be able to move. They sleep a lot, so you want to be able to have them sleeping in different areas of your house and drag them along with you. So the second thing that I actually quite enjoyed and enjoyed having was this basket. So you guys, I found that it was, honestly, once you have the babies, it's such a massive adjustment that you forget a lot. Your mind is all over the place, especially because I have 2 older kids as well, so I still had to get kids ready for school, take them to school, come back. So being organized is crucial, right? And some things you don't even want to be having to think about every time. Things like nappies, you don't want to be running out or getting up, and because you're also still recovering, right? Your body's still recovering. You don't want to, stress yourself out. There's nothing worse than not being organized, and there's no pressure, but being prepared is super helpful. I had this and I stocked it up with my baby's childcare books. So here in New Zealand, we get, what are these called? Planket books. So then the planket book is perfect when you have your planket nurse or your midwife coming over weighing the baby. It's convenient. If you have it in the box, honestly, it stays in here. My babies are almost 6 months and it still lives in here. So I don't have to look for it, right? And then I have my baby's nappies here. This is good for if you have older kids, because then you can just tell them, did you guys fill up the container? Did you fill up the baby's box with nappies? And they love it. They'll quickly run. I mean, kids they love being involved and they love just helping you because most of your attention is on these new babies, right? So you want to get them involved as much as possible so they don't feel like they're, forgotten, especially the first 2-3 weeks, it's just a haze, you guys. So I always got my daughter and my son to fill these up with nappies. I have wipes. Try to get a few in different areas, but this comes along with me. It was so convenient to just put in the bassinet and drag it along wherever I was going. And then I have wipes. What's this? Wraps. Wraps were important. So when my babies were really young, they're not in wraps now, but I use these to wipe, drool or whatever. But these were so convenient because sometimes they would spew up on the the wraps that you had them in, so you'd have to rewrap or they'll do big poos or whatever. So it was convenient just to have 2 of these in here all the time. Now I just keep one just to wipe their faces. I keep the trusty Vaseline. I usually keep nappy rash cream in here, but my babies don't have nappy rash. Just because in the early days, and I still do it now, but in the early days when they're babies, it's also super helpful to change them. I usually set an alarm because the babies have to be fed every 3 hours. And because they're pram babies, and twin babies are usually pram babies, they're really sleepy and they don't wake themselves up for a feed. So I would set an alarm every 3.5 hours, right? Just because they feed on, let's say, at 2, and then 3 hours from the end of that feed, that's when they'd have to feed again. So what I usually would do is once I get them up, I change them just to wake them up a little bit, just to make them uncomfortable, take them out of their wrap so they don't feel cozy. They wake up a little, change them, the cold wipe also, wakes them up a little, and then I put them on the boob. Then they usually fall asleep on the boob. So they didn't get a lot of nappy rash because I was changing them every 3 hours or whenever they'd poo in between or whatever. But yes, so this is the box, and it has, I usually keep their dummies. They don't even use these. My babies self-soothe with their fingers, but I'm trying to get them on these because I don't want their fingers to affect their teeth when they grow, but who knows. But this is convenient, mama. Have this. Doesn't have to be fancy. You can even use a nappy box. The box that the nappies come in, chop the top up or whatever and use that, like drag it around with you. I just happen to have this. I actually got this from my sister-in-law. I took it from her and she said I can keep it, and it was super handy, and it's still so helpful for me because I drag this along everywhere I go with my twinnies. So my next tip would be, setting that alarm is super crucial. And then having water bottle by you, okay? You are breastfeeding, you have a lot of milk coming in, have a water bottle with you. And if you can, snack, all right? I always seem to have a baby on me and food in me. Like, it was constant. And so, look after yourself. Don't forget to feed yourself. And things like fruits that are, you can carry. I actually used to have, I used to get my kids to bring a plate and just put stuff on it. Whether it's cookies, banana, apple, whatever. And I just munch on it. I would leave it there. Tea was another one. Tea was really helpful. Every time I would drink tea, my milk would come in. But lots and lots of water. Have a water bottle by you. don't just rely on, have it with you, sis, so that you can just be, because sometimes it becomes a habit, isn't it? Like if you have a water bottle, you drink more water because it's just there. It's convenient when you feel like a snack or whatever, or you feel a bit thirsty, you drink it, versus, now getting up and getting a drink of water, glass of water. Honestly, have it with you. Now, my other tip would be in terms of your body. Now, a lot of things are happening at this stage. Be easy on yourself. Do not put pressure on yourself. Look, you're gonna make mistakes. You will survive. Just because you are late with a feed, don't be too hard on yourself. Take it easy. Focus on just feeding the babies, feeding yourself, and look, this is a massive change in your life. I had a few breakdowns. Like I had it together the first week. The second week, I think halfway through the week, it just all fell apart. I felt like a stranger in my own body. Things don't fit anymore. I couldn't even, guys, let me tell you, this is going to be a bit TMI, but I didn't have control of my bladder yet after having my twins. So if I felt like my bladder was about to be full, or if I felt the urge to wee, by the time I get to the bathroom, I've already weed myself. And literally, like, the last lot of wees are coming out as I sit down. So, obviously, like those large nappy pads are really important. You will need them for a little while post-birth. Like, I know they're for post-birth immediately, but you might need to use them for like 2 months afterwards. And it's okay, Live in your sweatpants. You don't have to, impress anyone. You've already impressed us all by giving birth to 2 babies, So take it easy on yourself. Take care of yourself. Have people around you that can, I didn't have anyone to help me as such. Like it was just my husband and I and my kids. But if you don't have anyone, like in our case, like extra help, honestly, I would recommend talking to your midwife or whoever your health provider is. If you're not feeling well, if you feel like it's becoming too much for you and the pressure is hectic, tell someone. It's not abnormal. You're not, high maintenance or whatever. Like your health comes first. You need to take care of yourself first. It's a lot, and it's a massive change. So yeah, that's something to take care and keep an eye on. Another tip would be pre-frozen meals. So if you have time, if you're watching this expecting twins, freeze some meals, or whenever you have some time off, freeze some meals. I tell you, I cannot stress this enough, because finding the time and the energy to actually stand up and cook dinner, it's impossible. I was grateful in that I have a husband who actually helped me, and he was doing most of the cooking. Towards the end of the pregnancy and afterwards. But if you're doing this by yourself, or if your husband doesn't cook or whatever, don't be scared to ask family members, like, bring over some dinner. Like, honestly, you're gonna need that. You don't have time waking up every 3, because the thing is, you don't always sleep with the twins. People say this, sleep when the babies are sleeping. The reality is, you probably don't, because you have other kids, or just in general, even when you sleep, you don't get in that deep sleep. So you're always tired, right? So it's important for you to honestly reach out for help if you can, and if you need to. Ultimately, you can do this. You just have to realize where you feel like, you know what, I don't have it together here. Tell someone. It's okay. It's expected for you to need a helping hand. Honestly, another thing that was helpful for us is in New Zealand, there is Bellyful. Bellyful is an organization that make food for people who have a newborn and who don't have other help from family members. And my son's daycare teacher referred us to Bellyful, because she was like, you know what, you're having twins, you're gonna need this. And I was like, I'm not sure if I need it, but I just said yes. And my goodness, like, they have frozen mac and cheese, frozen bolognese, frozen lasagna that were so helpful, especially during the weekends when my kids are home for the day, for full days. I just put that in the microwave and serve it, and it's done. So you are going to be sleep deprived, you need to think about all of that. And if for instance, you feel like you need to stay in bed all day, every day, do it. Bring the food to you. Have someone bring the food to you and stay in bed. Like, you deserve this, mama. And your body's still healing. Your mind is still adjusting. And it's okay for you. If you have a down moment, it's normal. All right? Just don't feel like you cannot ask anyone for help or you can't share what you're going through. Another thing that I know some moms may find this helpful with me sharing this is that I really found it difficult tandem feeding. I tried it a few times in the hospital, like having both babies on the boobs at the same time. I found it so difficult, but my midwife said, you know what? It's important for you to just keep trying it and feed the babies at the same time. This tip, guys, is the number one. I still do it now. Try to do everything together, simultaneously with the babies. So if you feel like, if one baby's up to eat and the other's still sleeping, when they're still like, infants and early in the months, wake the other one up, feed them together. So always have the routine going simultaneously, because the last thing you want is to have one baby there breastfeeding away, you're up, you play with the baby sleeps, and then the other one wakes up, because then you're always going to have a baby with you and you won't have time to rest or paint your nails or make an extra meal or just do you need that mental break as well. So I found it very helpful to just do everything together with the babies. Now, let me tell you something. This actually, eventually, I would actually try to tandem feed once a day, and it was a hit and miss. Initially, with my kids, I had to, because the weights were really low, we had to do top-ups with formula. So I had a syringe that was full of formula with a little, tube that I would slide in between, in the baby's mouth and slowly, release while they're sucking on the boob. That to me didn't work. It was just a whole lot of loose parts, like having to fill the syringe up. It worked in the hospital because I had a NICU nurse doing it for me. But by the time I got home, guys, it was just too many moving parts. Trying to get the baby, keep the baby, nicely propped up it's new, so it's not even comfortable, right? You just have to find what works for you with pillows and trying to keep the babies on the pillows because they're so tiny too, they can just fall in between the pillow and you. It was just, and trying not to suffocate the baby with the boob, and then trying to worry about the tube. It's just a mess. So we did a bottle. So we'd start off the babies on the boob and they suck as much as they can. And another thing that my midwife told me was to squeeze the boobs squeeze really hard, a firm squeeze to get as much, because they can actually burn a lot of energy just sucking as well. So squeezing helps them, and you want to get as much milk out as possible. And once they had finished on the boob, then I would give them a bottle. So then I give them the formula through a bottle. That worked out better for me versus those tube things. Honestly, it was just a hot mess. But yeah, so I'd feed them with the bottle, burp them, put them back to sleep. So everything was done together. But guys, let me tell you this. I'll tell you a funny story. There was a time when in the middle of the night, I just woken up, my alarm had gone off and I'm in a daze and I'm there. Got a baby and I'm changing, like literally like nappy open, folded over, close the nappy and all, trying to pull the thing. And I'm like, why isn't this top pulling? By the time I looked down, you guys, there was no baby in front of me. Both babies were still in the cot. It was a mess because, you're just so sleep deprived those few weeks that you everything is a haze. And I thought, my gosh, I just changed the air. I just changed and I was pulling on my sheets, and it happens and it's okay, right? As long as you are safe and the baby's in a safe zone, the babies are in the safe zone, you're good. So my thing is, if you just have that routine of, feeding them having your alarm every 3 hours, changing them, feeding them, putting them back to bed at the same time, you get some sort of like a 3-hour window of sleep. But in all honesty, guys, by the 4th week, your body is slowly adjusting to it. the first 3 weeks are a shock and it's a hot mess. Like, you start changing anything. If I had a toy next to me, one of my kids' toys, I'd be changing that thinking it's the baby. But you get through it, and I really hope these tips are helpful. If I remember, or if I can think of other things later on, I will write them in the description bar. But honestly, you will get through this. It's a lot to take in, but remember, your well-being affects the baby's well-being, and so take care of you first. And if you feel like you're getting that postnatal depression and you're just starting to have some dark thoughts, it's also, I know it's tough to say, but it's also normal. Like, I went through postnatal depression with my son and my daughter, but I didn't know with her because she was our firstborn. I didn't know whether it was postnatal depression or not. But if you go through it with the pressure and the hormones, it's perfectly normal. Talk to someone about it. That's really what you need to do. Just feel open, and it's okay. As many people as you can talk to, the better. And I found that going for walks was also very helpful. And whenever you can, like, take a trip to the supermarket, leave the babies with their dad or something, or someone, or an aunt, or the grandma, or someone, just so you can get a breather and just see other human beings also. But anyway, guys, those are my tips on how to survive the first few weeks with twin baby, newborn babies. And I really hope this was helpful for you. Comment below if there is anything else that you'd like me to talk about. I am an open book, and I'm super happy to have you join my channel and my family over here. You guys have an awesome time. Stay tuned for my next video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Ciao!